Welcome to episode 101 of the CEO Coaching Series. Today we'll make a case for coaching in leadership development. We will develop a 50,000-foot view as to what CEO coaching is and how it can help CEOs and senior executives to become more effective leaders. We will be addressing these questions in different episodes in our series. So here we begin. Several of the typical questions that come up in HR departments are around the validity and effectiveness of executive coaching, how to show the ROI on leadership development, and how to successfully create and align the leadership, the learning and development strategy with the overall growth strategy. So let's take a look at some of these things. First of all, what is executive coaching? Executive coaching is an experiential and individualized leadership development process that builds a leader's capability to achieve short and long-term organizational goals. It is conducted through one-on-one and/or group interactions driven by data from multiple perspectives and based on mutual trust and respect. The organization, an executive, and the executive coach work together in partnership to achieve maximum impact. More executives are beginning to request the service for themselves, as the growing perception is that coaching can help an individual or group to build sustainable professional and personal skills, better learn, overcome challenges, reach stretch goals, and integrate leadership training. Executive coaching, as we have defined above, with the additional benefit of involving the stakeholders that the clients work most closely with through through a 360 feedback process before and after the coaching engagement. Throughout the whole process, we maintain frequent communication with the HR. Now, what are some of the potential challenges when it comes to hiring an executive coach? Unfortunately, coaching is largely underused and undervalued as a leadership development tool. This applies to companies of all industries and sizes, and a variety of employees in these companies are affected in different ways. A further frustration for engaged and professional L&D managers is that they often only get approval for training courses that are much too rigid for this level of leadership. Someone coming in with a supposed quick fix for a complex issue, and the C-suite, not surprisingly, feel that going to these trainings is a waste of their time. They are often 1 to 2 day seminars, taking the CEO or others senior executives away from the desk for far too long. Alternatively, someone from the corporate HQ gets flown in to train coach their local leadership team, but they have not spent much, if any, time in the country. So their behavior towards the participants is inevitably influenced by unconscious bias. Participants are unwittingly made to feel less than they are made to feel less than and leave the training coaching session feeling patronized and frustrated. Now, metrics are another thing that the L&D professionals could use to build a bridge of communication to the C-suite and the board, especially quantitative data. Numbers talk in business if you have the right figures at your disposal. it is easy to make a strong argument. Finally, patience is also important. The C-suite might need some time to see L&D in a different light. It might take quite a bit of persistence to convince them to take the subject just as seriously as other investments they make in the growth of the company, and to allocate similar budgets to L&D. L&D strategy should become just as important as marketing and sales strategy, especially in the knowledge economy. Special focus needs to be on talent development, leadership development, and succession planning. As an L&D professional, it is their job to ensure that the company is equipped with the skills for future success. So to summarize, HR needs a seat at the table, and HR needs to earn that seat at the table. Let's take a look at dispelling some of the myths that people have about leadership. Myth number one: people think that great leaders are born. Well, that is the farthest thing from the truth that you can hear. When you look at leaders, they have gone through a process of achieving greatness to become leaders in their own rights. They have to manage themselves, manage their network, and manage the team. And when these things don't happen, they fall on the wayside. Now, there may be some truth that some people have a natural disposition to leadership than others, but research clearly shows that becoming and continuing to be a great leader is a lifelong journey. So I've come to the conclusion that the greatest obstacle of getting what we really want in life is not the other party, as difficult as he or she can be. The biggest obstacle is actually ourselves. So it's, I think, a good piece of advice to remember. Myth number two: there is a right way to be great. The greatest moments, the defining moments of great leaders are when they do something unique, something different from everyone else. Just think of the icons of business leadership. You can take the example of Steve Jobs, Sir Richard Branson, Ratan Tata, Azim Premji, Peter Drucker, Mark Zuckerberg, Indra Nooyi, Larry Page, etc. They all have something in common. Their approach to leadership and doing business is unique. My colleagues and I have found that when leaders do their best work, they don't copy anyone. Instead, they draw on their own fundamental values and capabilities, operating in a frame of mind that is true to them. I call it a fundamental state of leadership. Myth number three: leaders are naturally confident. In our work with leaders, we have found that the leaders are just as likely to lack confidence as anyone else, though they might appear to be more confident in financial decision making or their technical skills. As anyone would, they have usually built this confidence through years of practice. However, leaders often feel unsure about how to handle conflict. 43% of CEOs felt in our survey that they needed coaching for conflict management, how to handle a difficult conversation, how to give feedback effectively. This stops them from being creative and limits their interactions and ideas to what can be achieved within familiar territory. In this age of constant innovation, this is an enormous problem that affects many big corporates who are desperately looking for ways to be more agile. When a leader is not confident or creative, there is a trickle-down effect, and employees feel less confident in their own abilities to be creative. Myth number 4: you're either a manager or a leader. This dichotomy has been upheld for a long time. However, the reality is that anyone who is in charge of others should be a mixture of both, leader and manager. To some extent, the person will need to be able to coordinate. To some extent, they will need to inspire and engage. Increasingly, people who are the most effective are those who essentially are both managers and leaders, according to Professor David Thomas of the Harvard Business School. So, what does all of this have to do with coaching? Everything. Note that great leadership starts with managing yourself, which then leads to managing others in different ways, directly and indirectly. A coach can help you with all of these. Authenticity and confidence to do something drastically different and new, to take a risk, are vital skills for a successful leader. Coaching is best suited for uncovering the leader's unique talents and leveraging them more fully. Coaching also encourages authenticity and builds confidence. In this fast-paced world, we keep having to reinvent ourselves and the way we work and lead. Leaders need to have creative confidence, something that coaching can really help them with. Finally, both managing and leading successfully rely very much on soft skills. Leaders spend the bulk of the time communicating, according to Professor Nitin Nohria of the Harvard Business School. So, why coaching? Mature individuals don't want to feel they are being sent back to the classroom, yet they like to keep developing and growing, but in a more self-directed way. This is exactly what coaching offers. Professionals also need to see the practical application of what they're learning. They are no longer interested in learning abstract concepts, or rather, they don't have the time to learn something that is not immediately relevant to their work and life. Coaching is thus a very comfortable and conducive setting for professionals to learn and grow. The time investment is minimal, usually 90 to 120 minutes a month or maybe every 2 weeks. The learning is completely self-directed, and there is a check-in at the beginning and a transfer to everyday life at the end of each session, keeping the learning relevant at all times. Soft skills are very different from hard skills in that they build very much on a person's natural abilities. Let's take a look at the business case for coaching. According to the Harvard Business Review, many of the world's most admired corporations, from GE to Goldman Sachs, invest in coaching. The annual spending on coaching in the US is estimated at roughly $1 billion a year. Reason number 1: leaders want it. Nearly all CEOs would welcome coaching, as lonely at the top really resonates with them, according to the Stanford survey on executive coaching. CEOs themselves feel that conflict management is the number one skill they need to improve, wherein the two top areas board of directors say their CEOs need to work on are mentoring skills, developing internal talent, and sharing leadership delegation skills. According to another study, directors receive the greatest allocation of coaching hours, ranging from 23 to 32%. The second most frequent response was vice presidents, 20 to 26%, followed by C-level, 9 to 22%. While it may appear significant that directors receive the most coaching, this may be due to the obvious fact that there are more directors than there are VPs, senior VPs, or C-level employees. It is effective in the value proposition for executive coaching. The clients are quoted as saying that coaching helped them to manage complex organizational change more effectively and with greater confidence. It helped them to identify stakeholder issues earlier, minimizing the impact on the organization. It boosted their effectiveness. It inspired and empower high level of performance from others. It helped to develop an identifiable leadership style. It helped to create powerful and effective relationships, assert authority appropriately, experience greater satisfaction both professionally and personally. 86% of organizations, 95% of the leaders, 89% of internal coaches, and 97% of external coaches selected very effective, mostly effective, or effective, according to the survey conducted by the executive coaching industry in 2018. It can help improve employee. According to the latest employee engagement study by Hewitt, the top three factors that determine how engaged employees are in the Asian countries are rewards and recognition, employee value proposition, and career opportunities. All of these are strongly dependent on the CXO's behavior towards the top management and how that trickles down to the lower ranks. The same study also shows that employees in the Asia Pacific region are less satisfied with the leaders and with their learning and development opportunities. All this could be fixed with coaching. These days, as companies are competing for top talent in the market, having a strong EVP is an important factor in how attractive the organization is as an employer. A combination of coaching and consulting is a great way to work on the EVP, offering coordinated support on both strategic and behavioral levels. It is a cost-effective engagement. Even modest improvements can justify hiring a coach. An investment of $30,000 or so in an executive who has responsibility for tens of millions of dollars is a rounding error. When you take a look at the companies that have invested in coaching, they have a good reason, as their CEOs and other C-suite members control large budgets and have a major influence on employee engagement. Employee turnover is largely influenced by the leadership team. If we take a look at all these factors into consideration, then the cost of a coach suddenly seems quite modest. The enormous ripple effect of even the slightest positive change in the leadership team, like the improvement in employee engagement and thus productivity, the reduction of employee turnover, and thus the reduction of the associated costs, as well as the enhanced conflict and problem-solving skills of the respective leaders, and the resultant better use of their working hours and reduced stress levels in the team, to name but a few, more than make up for the modest investment of time and money required for executive coaching. It has the power to tackle the most pressing issues. Here are some of the key challenges CEOs listed for Asia. Enhance effectiveness of the senior management team, improve corporate brand and employee value propositions to attract and retain top talent, create culture of innovation by promoting and rewarding entrepreneurship and risk-taking, develop a more outward-looking, customer-centric culture, improve the organization's agility and flexibility, seek better alignment between strategy, objectives, and organizational capabilities. These days, leaders anywhere have to compete with leaders from the whole world, as companies can easily hire internationally. This means the leader himself should have a desire to grow and stay relevant. In order to improve the EVP, and attract top talent, the leadership team has to bring the A game to work. Because of its capability building and confidence enhancing methodology, our coaching is ideally suited to help leaders tackle all of the above listed issues. So, this was a broad overview of what coaching can do for executives and for the chief executive officer and the others senior executives in a company. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we look forward to see you next week. For all of us here, I am Ron, wishing you a happy, healthy, and productive weekend.